Good morning, students. This is the third lecture for Water Resource Engineering course. Now there are just 22 students present, so we'll wait for 2 more minutes, okay, and then we'll start our lecture. Okay. Good morning, students. It is 5 past 10, and almost half the students are present. So we'll start with our lecture. In the last lecture, we were studying the outcome of water resource engineering course. Okay. So the outcome of water is on the completion of course of water resource engineering, the students will be able to. Okay. So there are three outcomes to why we are studying this course, water resource engineering. Now, before I go any further, can everybody hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So Mute yourself now. And is the screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mm. Okay. So on completion of this water resource engineering course, the students will be able to uh, first they would be able to understand the need of irrigation and water requirement as per farming practice in India. Okay. So we are going to apply our knowledge of irrigation, the need of irrigation, and the water requirement for each different crops, each different agricultural fields, okay, and each different farming practice, and we'll apply those knowledge, okay, for specific cases in India. Then next, the second outcome of this course will be after the completion of the course, student will be able to understand the various irrigation structures and schemes. Okay. Now, irrigation structures can be dams, canals, weirs, barrages. Okay. These are all the irrigation structures. Now, in this course, we are not going to go into the design details of every structures. We are just going to see the design principles of each structure. Okay, so we'll just have a basic understanding of how the those irrigation structures are constructed. Okay, and how they work. Now, the last outcome is develop basis for design of irrigation schemes. Now, uh, one of the most important chapter in this course is the uh, chapter of or the module of hydrology. In hydrology, we are going to study different components such as evaporation, rainfall, runoff, infiltration, etc. And the study of hydrology forms our basis or forms our basic knowledge for the design of different irrigation schemes. Okay, so next we'll go to the next slide. We'll Before starting our first unit today, we'll just see an overview of the syllabus. Now, in module 1 or unit 1, it is uh, related to introduction to engineering, and it is divided into two parts. The first part, introduction part, it is related to engineering. We are going to see introduction, definition, necessity, scope, advantages, disadvantages, and different types of irrigation. Uh, then next we are going to see a brief introduction to hydrology. Now hydrology is a different module in this course in the form of the fifth module. In the fifth module, we are going to study in detail what is hydrology and the different components of hydrology. But we'll just see a brief overview of hydrology in the first unit. And in that hydrology, we are going to study about the hydrologic cycle, that is the water cycle. Then the main component of hydrologic cycle, which is rainfall. And then we are going to study surface water as well as subsurface or groundwater. Then next part of our module 1 relates to water requirement of crops for irrigation of field. Okay. Then we are in water requirement of crop. We are going to study the different components or different terms related to the water requirements such as base, delta, duty, and then we are going to study uh, other points such as method of improving duty, different types of soil, different types of soil water. Okay, so moving forward, in the second module, we are going to study the reservoirs and dams. Basically, in the second module, we are going to study about the different three types of dams. One is the gravity dam. Gravity dam is nothing but the dam which is made up of concrete. Then second is the earthen dam, or the dam which is made up of natural materials such as stones and soil which are locally available. And the third type of dam, okay, we are just going to see a brief overview of arch dam, which is a type of gravity dam. Okay, we are going to see just a brief overview of arch dams. And we are before studying gravity, earthen and arch dam, we are going to do the planning of reservoir. That means we are going to design what will be the area, what will be the volume of a reservoir. Now reservoir is the upstream side of a dam. Okay, the upstream side of the dam which is filled with water. Now in that we are going to study different parameters such as classification of reservoir, selection of site for reservoir. Okay, depending upon what type of dam you are going to build, whether it is gravity, earthen or arch dam, you are going to select your site for that. Then you are going to perform different investigation works for reservoir. That is, you are going to find out yield and capacity of a reservoir. Then you are going to calculate the mass curve and demand curve. Okay, a mass curve and demand curve uh, calculate the total input provided to the reservoir of the dam and the output, that is the water which is going to be released from the dam. Then we are going to perform different storage calculations. Okay, and lastly we are going to study different types of losses in reservoir, and mainly the loss due to silting of reservoirs. Okay, then we go to the next slide. The third module of this course, uh, in the third module we are going to study spillway, weirs and canals. Okay, all three are different hydraulic structures. Now spillway are the structures which are constructed inside or at the side of a dam. Okay, so when the water level in the reservoir rises up to a dangerous level. Okay, dangerous level means if the water level rises up to such a level, up to such height that it poses a danger to the stability of the dam. Okay, there should be an outlet for removing that excess water. Okay, so spillways are provided in the dam or outside the dam for excess water to flow downstream of the dam. Then second is the weirs. Weirs uh, are the structure which are constructed in a flowing river. Okay, now the shape of a weir is similar to that of a dam, but weirs and dams are very different from each other. We are going to see their difference in the first unit. And lastly, canals are the artificial waterways which carry water. Okay, then module 4 is related with lift irrigation, or the irrigation which is practiced by lifting water from a lower level up to a higher level and providing it to the crops. So in this in this module we will study that about specifically about wells and tube wells. Then we are going to compare the advantages of lift irrigation, that is well irrigation, and the surface irrigation which is nothing but the canal irrigation. Okay, and then lastly we are going to study the lift irrigation scheme. We are going to take a case study of a lift irrigation scheme, and we are going to study the various components and their design principles. Lastly, we are going to study in the fifth module about hydrology. Okay, now we will have seen a brief overview of hydrology in the first unit. In this fifth module or fifth unit, we are going to see in detail what is hydrology and what are the components of hydrologic cycle, such as evaporation, evapotranspiration, rainfall, runoff, infiltration, etc. Then our last module, the sixth module, it concerns with the waterlogging and drainage. Now the fields, agricultural fields which are irrigated, they pose a threat of waterlogging. Okay, when excess water is provided to the fields. Okay, it results in waterlogging, and hence it results in the loss of that land. So we are going to study about the concept of waterlogging and how we can prevent waterlogging, or if waterlogging has occurred, how we can cure the waterlogging effect inside a field. Then lastly, we are going to study different water conservation methods such as rainwater harvesting method, which is at a domestic level, to groundwater recharge, which is occurring at a community level with initiatives such as Water Cup in Maharashtra. Okay, so this was the brief overview of all the 6 modules of water resource engineering. Now we'll start with our first unit, that is introduction. And in the unit of introduction, we'll see what all the points we have to cover. Okay. Now, our first module is introduction to irrigation, and there are total 6 lectures which are available for the first module. Now, the different points which are to be covered in this module are introduction to irrigation, definition of irrigation, what is the scope of irrigation, what is the necessity of irrigation, and then advantages and disadvantages of irrigation. Then we are going to study the types of irrigation system, different types of irrigation systems which we can use. Then next we are going to see the difference between a weir, a barrage, and a dam. Then next is the method of distribution of water to the agriculture. What are the methods we are going to use, whether they be through canals or through pipes, through open channels. We are going to see all the methods of distribution of water to the agricultural field. Then next is the irri- uh, um, uh, development of irrigation in India. Okay. Now, development of irrigation in India is a different sub point in this chapter, and we are going to study it in detail. Next is the introduction to hydrology. As I said before, we are going to see a brief overview of hydrology, in which we are going to see about the hydrologic cycle, the main component of hydrologic cycle, which is the rainfall, and then surface and groundwater. So first we'll start with the introduction to irrigation. Now we'll see the different definitions which are associated with irrigation. First is irrigation is the process of applying controlled amounts of water to plants at needed intervals. Or the second definition is irrigation is the artificial application of water to the land or soil. The second definition is the most important definition. Okay, and it is the generally applied definition for irrigation. That is, irrigation is the artificial application of water to the land or soil. Okay. Now, irrigation helps to grow agricultural crops, maintain landscapes, and revegetate disturbed soils in dry areas and during period of less than average rainfall. Okay. Now, you have seen the definition of irrigation, two different definitions of irrigations. But what basically what is irrigation and why is it required? Okay. So that we'll see in the next unit, in the next slide, sorry. So, what is the necessity of irrigation? Why is irrigation required? Okay. Uh, Now, as everybody knows, India is an agricultural rich country. Okay. The main source of economy in India is agriculture, and almost 60 to 70% of the population is dependent upon agriculture in direct or indirect way, okay, for their economic purpose. Now, uh, India is a tropical country. So in tropical countries, what happens is there are only 3 to 4 months of rainfall, okay, and the rest of the year is particularly dry and humid. Okay, and in India, that season is known as the monsoon season. Okay, during which the bulk of the rainfall in India occurs. But the rainfall which occurs in monsoon is both erratic as well as uneven. Okay, so that is why for an agricultural field, uh, for growing crops in an agricultural field, we cannot depend upon an erratic and uneven rainfall. Okay, we have to artificially provide water to the agricultural fields, okay, at time in a controlled manner. So due to non-uniform distribution of rainfall with space and time, it is essential to have engineering solution to that problem of agricultural production. Now, irrigation is required when first when there is insufficient rainfall. Okay. Now, as you know, uh, insufficient rainfall is basically in dry climate, in dry regions such as Rajasthan. Okay, so for the areas where there is insufficient rainfall, okay, what we can as water resource engineer can do is we can transfer water from abundant areas to deficit areas. Okay, we can transfer water from areas which are having abundant water to areas which have water deficit. One example of that is the Indira Gandhi Canal, which is a canal built from Satluj River. Okay, now Satluj River is in Punjab. From Satluj River to the Thar Desert, which is in Rajasthan. Okay, now the Indira Gandhi Canal transfers or transports the water from Satluj to the Thar Desert. Next is the irrigation is required when there is uneven distribution of rainfall. Now, uneven distribution of rainfall can be with respect to area. For example, if we take the case of Maharashtra, there are three, if you consider three districts, Solapur district, Sangli district, and yes, 62 roll number, 62 roll number.
No, sir, it was by mistake reason.
Okay, okay, okay. So, shall I continue?
Yes, sir, yes.
Okay. So uneven distribution of rainfall. Now in India, everybody is aware about the uneven distribution of rainfall. Now, one aspect of uneven distribution of rainfall is uneven distribution by area. So as I was telling, if you consider three districts, Solapur, Sangli and Satara district, there is a region between this district which is known as the Mandesh area. Okay, uh, Mandesh area, it contains various talukas and places like Atpadi, Man and Khatao, Aund, these different areas. Now a peculiarity of this area is that it lies between the three regions which have considerably good rainfall. Okay, Satara district has good rainfall, Sangli district has good to very good rainfall, and Solapur district has average to good rainfall. But uh, this region, that is the Mandesh region, which lies between these three districts, okay, is very peculiar because it does not receive rainfall for sometimes a period of 1 to 2 years, okay, and the rainfall which occurs in this area is almost negligible, okay. That means in a year there may be year when there is average rainfall in the area, while there may be some years where there is rainfall for just 1 to 2 days in the total rainy season, okay. So such is you can study about the area, it is known as Mandesh, okay. So even though these three districts receive a good amount of rainfall, the area of Mandesh does not receive good rainfall, so it is an example of uneven distribution by area. Then next is the uneven distribution by time scale, okay. Uneven distribution by time scale is, uh, if in this year you have good rainfall, okay, in Solapur, you are not sure that in the next year you will get the same amount of rainfall, okay. That is the intensity and time scale. That means uh, last year, if you remember, Solapur district received rainfall from August and September onwards. Okay, but if you see this year, we are receiving rainfall from the end of June itself. Okay, so there is a change in the time scale of rainfall as well as the intensity. Okay, if last year the rainfall received was very high, this year the rainfall received will be very less. Okay, if this year the rainfall received is 800 to 900 millimeter, okay, the next year you may receive very less rainfall of 250 to 300 millimeters, okay. So that is nothing but the uneven distribution of rainfall with respect to intensity and time scale, okay. Now here we have considered average annual rainfall of two extreme examples, that is, one is the Thar region in Rajasthan which receives very less rainfall, and second is the Assam state which receives very high rainfall, okay. In Assam we have a region known as Cherrapunji and Mausinram which receive the highest rainfall in the Indian subcontinent. Next, irrigation is required when we have to improve the perennial crops, okay. uh, the perennial crops are they are some types of crops are such that they do not require to go through the whole cycle of sowing and reaping, okay. After you have removed that crop, those crops grow back again on their own. Those are known as perennial crops. So in order to improve the perennial crops, irrigation is required because we cannot improve perennial crops when there is erratic rainfall. And last is the development of agriculture in desert area. Okay, irrigation is required when we have to develop agriculture in desert area. That is self-explanatory sentence. I don't have to explain that. Okay, so we'll go to the next slide. We'll see the history of irrigation. Okay, now the oldest examples of irrigation can be found in the two oldest civilization of the world. One is the Egyptian civilization, and second is our very own Indus Valley or Sindhu civilization. Okay, now the method used by the Egyptians was that Egyptian civilization was built on the banks of the river Nile. Okay, so when in the rainy season the Nile river used to get flooded, uh, what used to happen is the Egyptian had built gates near the banks of river, and when the Nile river used to overflow, it would cross these gates and enter in the city. Okay, and it would inundate the agricultural fields which were situated in the city. Okay, that means it used to flood the agricultural fields. So in and the water from the river used to be transported to different agricultural field with the help of such small canals. So this was the first example of irrigation that was almost 6,000 years before Christ. Okay, that means almost 8,000 years back. Then our very own Indus Valley civilization. Okay, now if you see all the older civilizations, they were founded on the banks of some or the other river. Okay, Indus Valley civilization was founded on the banks of Sindhu River or Indus River. We can find a record of irrigation in Indus Valley civilization from 4500 BC, that is almost 6500 years back. The Indus Valley civilization, they developed sophisticated irrigation and water storage systems, okay, including artificial reservoirs at Girnar dated to 3000 BC. And lastly, large scale agriculture was practiced with an extensive network of canals used for the purpose of irrigation. Okay, similar to the Egyptian civilization, the Indus Valley civilization built an extensive network of canals for transportation of water from the river to the agricultural fields. Okay, and along with canals, they also developed uh, artificial reservoirs, okay, made be for the purpose of drinking water, okay, or for bathing purposes. Indus Valley civilization was the pioneer in building artificial reservoirs for water. Okay, there were some other older methods used for irrigation purposes, okay, uh, which made the use of animals very necessary. You can study different types of methods used in irrigation throughout the history of the world. Okay, now next we'll go to the scope of irrigation. Now irrigation engineering, it has a very wide scope. Okay, and there are three main aspects to the irrigation. One is the engineering aspect, one is the agricultural aspect, the third is the management aspect. Okay, now engineering aspect deals with the storage, diversion, or lifting of water first, then conveyance of water to the agricultural fields. Third is the application of water to the agricultural fields. Fourth is the drainage and relieving waterlogging. And fifth is the development of water power. Okay. So now, if you see all the engine, all the points which come under irrigation as engineering aspect. Okay. Now, the first is the storage, diversion, or lifting of water. Okay. Now, for the first part is nothing but forming a source of water for irrigation. Okay. Now, if it is a river, large river, you store water by in the form by constructing a dam. Okay. Diversion. Now you divert a river water by constructing a weir. Okay. Or lifting of water, you can use wells or tube wells for lifting groundwater up to the surface. Okay, so the first uh, point concerns with the uh, formation of a source of water. The second point concerns with the conveyance of water to agricultural fields. Okay, so second point concerns with how you are going to transport the water to the agricultural field. You can transport the water through open channels such as canals, okay, via ducts. Then you can convey the water also through large pipes, okay, which is a pipe system if you are using a lift irrigation scheme. The third point of engineering aspect concerns with application of water to the agricultural field. How you are going to apply the water to the agricultural fields. Now there are different methods with which you can apply water to agricultural fields, and all those methods that we are going to study in the next lectures, okay. The fourth point of engineering aspect concerns with the drainage and relieving waterlogging, okay. The water which we have applied to the agricultural fields, okay, so we have to we have to release the excess water, okay, otherwise there will be waterlogging. And the last point in engineering aspect concerns with the development of water power, okay. Now if you are storing water, if you are storing water in the form of reservoir, you can use that stored water for the development of water power, okay, or hydro, or you can uh, build a hydroelectric power plant to convert the water energy into electric energy, okay. So I will again briefly see what is engineering aspect. First point concerns with the formation of a source of water, okay, for our agricultural purpose, okay. Then second point concerns with the transportation of water from that source up to the agricultural field. The third point concerns with the application of that transported water in the agricultural field, how you are going to apply, okay. Fourth is the drainage of excess water which has been applied to the field. And fifth point is the development of water power. When you're storing water, okay, that stored water can be used for producing electricity, okay. So these are all the engineering aspects. Next we'll see the agricultural aspects, okay. We'll just see the agricultural aspect in brief because we are only concerned with the engineering aspect, okay. Now agricultural aspect deals with the how much depth of water you are going to apply to the field, okay. What will be the method of distribution of water, okay. Then you should know the capacity of a soil, okay. And lastly you should know how to convert a non-arable land into an agricultural land, okay. This comes under agricultural aspect. And the last is the management aspect. Management aspect, it also has 5 points. First, it deals with the successful implementation and efficient management, okay. Next is the cultivation of crops in scientific manner. And for cultivation of crops in a scientific manner, you have to train the farmers, okay. So training of farmers is an important management aspect of irrigation. Then sufficient and rational distribution of water to farmers, okay. uh, Now the work of a government irrigation engineer, okay, it starts from the formation of source, okay, up to the conveyance of water to the agricultural field, okay. At the after conveyance of water to the agricultural field, the work of a government irrigation engineer stops there, okay. He has no further say or job after that. The application of water to the agricultural field, it can come under management aspect, okay. So you have to sufficiently and rationally distribute the water to farmers, okay. That means you have to distribute water to the farmers depending upon the land they own, okay, and the type of crop they are growing. And last is the charging of water using suitable and scientific method. Okay, that means the water which is being used for irrigation purposes. Okay, now that it consumes almost 70% of the total requirement of water in the world. Okay, so if the irrigation is using 70% of the water of the total water requirement on this planet, then it is the duty uh, that we recharge the water. Okay, that means we conserve, okay, water, and we reuse the water which has been used for agricultural for other purposes. Okay, so these are all the three aspects, okay, of irrigation: engineering aspect, agricultural aspect, and management aspect. Now in this subject we are going to deal with only the engineering aspect, as I have told you, because as a water resource engineer you will deal with just the engineering aspect. Now all the 5 points in the engineering aspects that we saw, okay, now they can be divided into two phases. Okay, first is the development of source of water. Okay, so the first in the first phase the water resource engineering has to develop a source of water. Okay, so how can you as a water resource engineer develop a source of water? Okay, so if it is a non-perennial river means the river which do not flow all around the year. Okay, those river flow only during the monsoon and the winter season. Okay, and those rivers dry up in the summer season. Those are the non-perennial rivers. So dams are constructed when non-perennial rivers are the source. Okay, so what happens when dam is constructed? A lake or catchment lake is formed in the upstream side of the dam. Okay, and during the monsoon season, uh, the lake fills up. Okay, so we can construct dam as our first source of water for irrigation purposes. Then if a river is perennial, okay, that means if the river is flowing throughout the year, it has no danger of drying up, then instead of a dam, okay, because dams are very costly, we can construct a weir or a barrage. Okay, now weir is a smaller form of a dam in which we are not going to store water, but what we are going to do is we are going to divert the water. Okay, now if you can see here, for example, a river flows in this form. Okay, uh, there is a city here. Okay, whose all the water needs are being provided by this river. Okay, but there is another city at this point which is far away from the river and it has no other source of, okay, it has no other source of water. Let me call that city the city B. Okay, now what happens, you have to construct a canal from that river to this city. Okay, so you can fulfill the agricultural and domestic needs of the city B. So how do you divert the water? You divert the water by constructing a weir on the river. Okay, now how you divert the water, how you construct a weir, that we'll see in the coming lectures. Okay, so just remember that dam is constructed when it is a non-perennial river. Okay, and when we have to store water. Okay, and weirs and barrages are constructed when it is a perennial river and when we have to divert the water, we do not have to store it. And third development of sources, we can develop the groundwater sources by construction of wells or by construction of tube wells. Okay, so this is the first phase, which is the development of source of water. Second phase is the arrangement of conveyance. Okay, Arrangement of conveyance is the arrangement of transportation of that water. After you have developed the source of water, you have to transport that water up to the agricultural field. So first, one arrangement of conveyance is the formation of reservoir when the dam is constructed. Then second, if a weir is constructed, then you can construct the canals to carry that diverted water up to the required destination. Okay. Then last is the groundwater extraction system such as pumps. Okay. And when you pump the groundwater out, you can transport that water to different fields through pipes. Okay. So that is nothing but the second phase, which is the arrangement of conveyance. So we'll see the last slide, that is advantages and disadvantages of irrigation. Now, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So this is the last slide. We are taking.
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. Advantages and disadvantages of irrigation. First, we'll concern ourselves with the advantages of irrigation. Okay. Due to irrigation, there is an increase in groundwater storage. Okay. Now, how is the groundwater storage increased? If we construct a dam, okay, if we construct a dam, there is a lake formed on the upstream side of the dam. Okay. Now, when the lake is formed, uh, the water is in resting position. Much of the water gets infiltrated into the soil, and it increases the groundwater storage. Okay. Next is the protection from famines. Okay. Now, if many of you are young, many of you will not remember this, but your parents will remember this. Up to 1970 and 1975, okay, every 3 or 4 years there was a famine. Okay, in some or the other parts of India or in some or the other parts of world. This was because the agriculture was dependent upon the rainfall. Okay, naturally occurring rainfall. But as you know, rainfall can be uneven and erratic. Okay, so most of the crops failed when there was erratic rainfall, or during the years when there was no rainfall. Okay, so the famines were common. But after the green revolution of 1970s, okay, when irrigation was promoted, artificial application of water to the agricultural field was promoted, we have a reduction in the famines. Now, famine is the uh, shortage of food for human beings as well as animals. Okay, so as more crops were destroyed before 1970s, there were huge famines. Okay, so one advantage of irrigation is that we got protection from famines. Okay, third is the cultivation of superior crops. Okay. Now, a person who is sowing in his field normal dal crops or bajra crops, if he has a higher availability of water, he can grow cash crops such as sugarcane. Okay, when he has access to irrigation. Next is the elimination of mixed cropping. Okay, now what happens is the farmers do not grow just one crop. Sometimes they grow 2 to 3 different crops in the same agricultural field. Okay, now the reason behind that is, if one or two crops fail, okay, there should be at least one crop which can be harvested and which can provide money to the farmer. But if we have access to irrigation, okay, then we can eliminate this mixed cropping and we can just grow one superior crop such as sugarcane. Next is in the crop yield. Okay, the number of tons produced in an agricultural field, okay, can be increased. Number of tons of harvest which can be produced in an agricultural field can be increased by irrigation, and due to all this, it increased the prosperity of farmers and country. Okay, and the other side benefit of irrigation was that it led to the hydroelectric power generation. Okay, the water which was stored in dams, okay, now that water, it was realized that that stored water can be used for generation of electricity. Okay, so hydroelectric power plants were constructed. Next, uh, the domestic and industrial water supply problem was also solved by storage of water. Okay, so now if you see, the dams which are available, they are multi-purpose. They are just not used for irrigation. They are also used for navigation. They are used for hydroelectric power generation, and lastly they are also used for domestic and industrial water supply. Okay, so it was also beneficial for navigation, and this was also last. The advantage of irrigation was canal plantations. Okay, that means the uh, a large number of plants or trees were planted on the side of the canal, which increased the greenery and which provided for the extra timber available. Next is the disadvantages of irrigation. As there are many advantages, there are some disadvantages of irrigation. So we'll see what are the disadvantages. First is the waterlogging. Okay, now even after much development in irrigation, the basic method of providing water to the agricultural field in India is that we flood the agricultural fields. Okay, in many parts of India still today we flood the agricultural fields. So sometimes what happens is, we provide water in excess of the water which is required for the growth of the crop. Okay, due to which there is waterlogging or extra water accumulates in the agricultural field. Okay, now that extra water, which is not moving, by the way, which is just static. Okay, in so that water leads to mosquito breeding. Okay, which leads to diseases such as malaria and dengue. Then it leads to unhealthy climate due to the cold climate. Okay, now as there are many pockets of water which agricultural field which are waterlogged. Okay, it gives rise to a very cold and damp climate. Okay, which is very unhealthy. Then next, pollution of rivers and groundwater. Okay, so in the irrigation system, you provide the water to the agricultural field, and the excess water of the agricultural field is then transported back to the rivers, or it gets seeped underground. Okay, now as there is an increase in use of artificial fertilizers, pesticides and insecticides. Okay, the prospect of pollution of river and groundwater has increased. Okay, last is the loss of valuable lands. Okay, now due to the easy availability of water due to irrigation, okay, and there is extensive farming going on in the agricultural fields. Okay, now if there is extensive farming, okay, if there is unsustainable farming, there can be loss of valuable agricultural lands. Okay, so valuable agricultural lands, due to over irrigation, due to over farming, they can convert into barren lands. So that is one disadvantage of irrigation. Okay, so this was all for today. Okay. Does anyone have any question?
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, sir. What is mean by tropical country?
Tropical countries are usually those which are situated just above the or just below the equator. You know the line of equator which passes through the center of the earth.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So
Yes,
the
sir.
countries which are present just above or below the line of equator, they are known as tropical countries. Because if you see the climate, the rainfall of these countries is similar. For example, countries such as India, some countries in Africa, countries such as Indonesia, Malaysia, and countries such as Brazil. Okay, they have the same climate, humidity, and rainfall as in India. Okay, so those are
Okay, sir.
tropical countries. Anyone else? Let me just take your attendance. मिलिंद पाटील सर आहेत का? If anyone has any question, they can ask me. Now, yesterday someone asked what is meant by breakwater. Okay, so
Yes, sir. I have asked same question.
yes. So breakwater means we construct a wall uh, near the sea. Okay, near the interference of a sea and a seashore, or we construct a wall on the banks of a river, so that the water which is traveling with a velocity, high velocity in a river or in the form of tidal wave, okay, they do not erode the seashore or the bank of a river. For that purpose, a breakwater is constructed to break the speed of water. It is similar to a speed breaker on roads. Anyone else? Okay, roll number 1,
Yes, sir.
2, 3,
Yes, sir.
4, 5,
Yes, sir.
6,
President.
7,
Yes, sir.
8,
Present, sir.
9,
Present, sir.
10,
Yes, sir.
11, 12,
Yes, sir.
13,
Yes, sir.
14,
Present, sir.
15,
Yes, sir.
16. Okay, 16. I can see 17.
Yes, sir.
Okay, 17 is 18,
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
19, 20, 21, 22, 23,
Present, sir.
24, 25,
Present, sir.
26, 27,
Present, sir.
28,
Present, sir.
29,
Present.
30,
Present, sir.
31, 32,
Present, sir.
33,
Present, sir.
34,
Present, sir.
35, 35, 36,
Present, sir.
37, 38, okay, 38,
Present, sir.
39,
Present, sir.
40,
Present, sir.
41,
Present, sir.
Sir, 35 present.
काय काय 35,
Hello.
हा
हाँ प्रेझेंट सर ते नेटवर्क गेलं होतं.
ओके ओके ठीक आहे ठीक आहे 42,
41.
41,
Present,
okay.
sir.
42 present, 43, 44,
Yes, sir.
45, 46, 47,
Present.
48, 49,
Yes, sir.
50,
Yes, sir.
51,
Yes, sir.
52,
Yes, sir.
53, 54, 55,
So 54%.
okay, 55,
53 present, sir.
okay, okay, yes, 55, 56,
Present, sir.
57,
Yes, sir.
58,
Present, sir.
59,
Yes, sir.
60,
Yes, sir.
61,
Present, sir.
62, 6, okay, I can see 62, okay, 63, 64,
Present, sir.
65,
Present, sir.
66,
Present, sir.
67,
Present, sir.
68,
Present, sir.
69, 70,
Present, sir.
71,
Present, sir.
72,
Hello.
72, 73,
Hello.
yes, who is there?
Sir, 69 present, sir.
69 present, okay,
Sir, 62.
yes, लावले तुझी attendance. 71,
Thank you.
73,
71, sir.
okay, 71 present, 72, 73, 74,
Yes, sir.
रोल नंबर किती पर्यंत आहे 75 पर्यंत आहे का
हाँ, sir.
Yes, sir.
75,
Yes, sir.
okay, 73 नाही आहे का आज okay, so thank you, I'll see you in the next week.
Hello, sir.
Yes,
Hello, sir.
okay, okay,
Sir, 48 present.
हा दिसला तुम्हाला
हा.
okay, if nobody has any doubt, we'll stop the lecture because you have another lecture in 5 minutes. Okay,
Yes, sir.
thank you everybody.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.